30,000. Now just hold that number in your head for a quick second. Think about what that actually looks like. In a lot of places around the world, 30,000 people isn't just a busy neighborhood. It's an entire fully functioning small town. We're talking a community with its own schools, its own annoying traffic jams, its own local drama. Now I want you to imagine taking every single one of those 30,000 individuals, picking up their homes, their favorite shops, their daily routines, and literally compressing all of it.
Which poses a pretty staggering question, right? How on earth do you fit a whole town into one single building? Just think about the sheer logistics for a minute. Imagine a pizza delivery guy trying to navigate that, or a mail carrier staring down a single address that somehow contains an entire municipality. I mean, it sounds completely like science fiction, but the crazy part, it's not.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the world of urban hell and extreme human ecosystems. We are going on a highly curated tour of some of the most staggering, frankly unbelievable examples of human adaptation on the planet. We'll be looking at places that feel a lot less like traditional cities, and honestly, more like massive human storage, testing the absolute limits of how we live, how we build, and how we survive.
Okay, let's just dive right into our roadmap for today. We've got 4 distinct themes. First up, extreme human density. 2, infrastructure gone completely wild. 3, bizarre urban planning choices. And 4, when nature fights back.
All right, kicking things off with part 1, extreme human density.
So when space gets tight, humanity doesn't just stop growing. We just compress our lives in ways that almost defy belief. Remember that 30,000 number? Well, this is where they live, the Regent International over in Hangzhou, China. It is a staggering 200 meters tall, sweeping in this massive S shape across 40 floors. But what's really interesting here is that this isn't just a tall apartment building. It functions as a completely closed inner ecosystem. It was originally planned as a luxury hotel, but it basically turned into an ant colony for humans. Because it has indoor food courts, salons, barbers, and supermarkets built right in, you could wake up, grab lunch, go to work, get a haircut, and go back to sleep without ever stepping a single foot outside. It's either the ultimate convenience or the ultimate confinement, depending entirely on how you look at it.
But you know, density definitely takes many forms. Over in Haiti, the hillside neighborhood of Jalousie is packed with an estimated 80,000 people. From a distance, it almost looks like colorful TV static. Back in 2013, the government actually rolled out a $1.4 million project called Beauty versus Poverty, painting about 1,000 of these houses in these incredibly vibrant colors. But here's the stark reality beneath all that paint. This is a steep, incredibly labyrinthine hill, and a lot of it doesn't have proper public sewer or water hookups. So imagine having to physically carry your daily water up a dizzying maze of stairways and tiny gaps between homes every single day just to survive. It's this beautiful facade hiding a really grueling daily reality.
And then, well, there's event density. 3 million. That's the approximate number of people who absolutely packed onto Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro for the closing mass of Pope Francis's visit back in 2013. We are talking about the ultimate Where's Waldo puzzle. If you looked from the air, the crowd basically looked like sand. The separation between people was virtually zero. Leaving your spot wasn't just tough, it was a massive risk. It's just brilliant proof of how an open, relaxing beach can instantly morph into this overcrowded, wall-to-wall human stadium.
Moving right along to section 2, infrastructure gone completely wild.
So what exactly happens when civil engineering logic is thrown completely out the window and sheer brute force scale takes over? Well, check out these metrics. This is Egypt's massive highway project leading toward their new administrative capital. It maxes out at an unbelievable 32 lanes. Now, here's the absolutely absurd part. Egypt has a national ratio of just 1 vehicle for every 11 people. So you've got this monumental stretch of road that looks like a giant barcode stamped straight across the desert with almost zero traffic on it. They used 1 million cubic meters of concrete and 290,000 tons of steel and slapped this behemoth together in just 4 years. It's literally the ultimate just one more lane bro internet joke, except they actually built it.
If you thought that was absurd, wait until you hear about the Tianshan overpass in Guiyang, China. Because the city is so incredibly mountainous, engineers couldn't just spread the roads out, right? So they stacked them straight up. The result is this 55-meter-high, 15-story-tall 3D maze of concrete. It honestly looks like someone handed a toddler a pencil and said, "Hey, draw a highway." The sheer structural scale is marvelous, for sure, but missing an exit in this thing? Terrifying. You can't just flip a quick U-turn. You are heavily reliant on your GPS to get you out of this sky-high spaghetti bowl.
And hey, it turns out that confusing road design isn't just an American or Chinese hobby. Let's look at Tampere, Finland. For 60 solid years, instead of just wiping the slate clean and starting from scratch, engineers decided to endlessly fix this intersection by just adding one more lane or tying in one more connection. Over 6 decades of these little band-aids created a massive 5-way tangle. From above, it seriously looks like 5 entirely different road concepts were violently forced to share a single space. Though, to be fair, locals swear it actually works pretty well once you're on the ground.
Which brings us to part 3, bizarre urban planning choices. So this brilliantly illustrates what happens when land is hyper-monetized and developers lean way too hard on the copy-paste function on their keyboards. You end up with a pretty jarring disconnect between expectation and reality. When you think of the Eiffel Tower, you automatically expect a romantic stroll through the heart of Paris, right? But the reality here is a steel replica built directly over a road in the hills of Tegucigalpa, Honduras. It literally serves as the entrance to a gated community that's just trying to look expensive. You commute right under it. But that fancy illusion breaks almost instantly when you notice the messy power lines slicing across the sky and the drab concrete block walls framing the whole thing. It is literally Paris at home in the most surreal way possible.
We actually see a really similar expectation versus reality clash over in modern UK new build estates. You might pay around £500,000 expecting a touch of luxury and a nice spacious garden to relax in. The actual reality? You get a cramped maze of tiny, identical wooden rectangles. There are absolutely zero trees. From above, these gardens function more like livestock pens than private little sanctuaries. It's a very strange contradiction, where yes, you technically own outdoor space, but you have zero privacy because your neighbors can look directly right into your fenced-in box.
But the absolutely crucial point here is how these bizarre planning choices actually impact daily life. Take Villa 31 in Buenos Aires, for example. Here, you have this massive elevated highway slicing directly over densely packed stacked brick houses. The infrastructure is so incredibly tight that some of the bathroom windows are literally at eye level with passing traffic. Just imagine brushing your teeth while a bus driver makes direct eye contact with you going 60 kilometers an hour. It's loud, it's dusty, and it's messy. But what is truly fascinating about this is that this neighborhood sits right next to some of the richest, most elegant parts of Buenos Aires. It's a stark, undeniable visual of extreme wealth and extreme poverty existing on the exact same block.
And then there's the incredibly cruel irony of Istanbul's Ataköy district. People bought these premium, mid-rise coastal apartments here specifically for the gorgeous sea views. But then newer developers moved in and just built massive private luxury blocks directly in front of them on the waterfront. So if you bought a place for the view, you are now staring permanently at the concrete wall of the next guy's project. It is this endless loop of newer developments cannibalizing the views of the older ones. It basically proves that in urban real estate, unless you own the actual land in front of you, a view is just a temporary luxury.
Finally, Section 4, when nature fights back.
So what happens when human development crashes literally head-on into unforgiving environmental limits? Let's walk through this tragic, real-time feedback loop currently happening in Jakarta, Indonesia. This isn't just a story about overpopulation, it's a literal thirst for survival. Step 1, the city's pipe supply only meets about 40% of the actual water demand. Step 2, well, because people need water to live, millions of residents and businesses just pump unregulated groundwater straight from beneath the city. Step 3, emptying out all those underground aquifers causes the land to literally deflate like a balloon. We're talking about the ground dropping up to 25 centimeters per year in some areas. And Step 4, almost half the city now sits below sea level, and the ocean is just flooding right in. If nothing changes, 95% of North Jakarta could be entirely submerged by 2050. The city is literally sinking itself just to stay hydrated.
Sometimes, though, the environmental impact is entirely our own doing. For example, over in Kuwait, a sprawling second black desert was formed by 42 million discarded tires. This enormous environmental hazard absorbed the brutal desert temperatures and suffered multiple, massive toxic fires that completely blazed out of control. But there is actually a pretty cool silver lining here. As of late 2021, Kuwait completely cleared away all 42 million of those tires, hauled them over to a recycling plant, and is now using that exact same piece of land to build a brand new smart city. It's a tremendous pivot from an absolute environmental disaster straight into urban renewal. However, some places just can't be saved quite so easily. Take Kondal Hudu in the Maldives. This was a tiny coral sand island, barely sitting above the water, but it was packed tightly with 3,700 people. But the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami totally exposed the fatal flaw of building dense settlements on land that's less than 1 meter above sea level. The wave devastated the island, and it forced the permanent relocation of all its residents. It really serves as a stark warning for a country where 80% of the islands are this low.
It makes artificially raising land not just some cool engineering marvel, but a grim absolute necessity for their future survival.
So, looking back at everything we've just explored today, from cramming 30,000 people into a single building, to highways stacked 15 stories high, to cities that are literally sinking under their own weight, it leaves us with a really massive question to ponder. Are these extreme environments massive failures of urban planning? Or are they actually incredible, awe-inspiring testaments to human adaptability? Just how far can we bend our environment before it breaks? And honestly, how much can we adapt when it finally does? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.